Coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I am your host, as always, Coach Steve. We have another fun episode for you guys today. Continuing our ADP talk. Last week we did the early rounds and what to expect in the early round picks there. This week, or today, this morning's episode, this afternoon's episode, we are doing make or break middle rounds. Basically, the rounds that could make or break your season pretty big in fantasy. And we're going to go through ADP and things like that. Before we get to that, obviously, let's introduce the crew. We have Coach Gibbs, as always. What's going on, Coach Gibbs?
Hey, ain't much, man. It's doing good, brother. I'm ready to get into it tonight.
Love it. And of course, we have a longtime guest that always likes to come on our show. Kyle, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the show once again.
Coaches. Glad to be a consultant on the staff today. It's great. I always enjoy joining.
We temp agency. We brought you in for the day, so. But again, no Coach John today. He's got more work things to do, as he says. But maybe he'll be on the night show that we have tonight as well. So we'll see. But for now, we are talking here. In terms of news, we're not going to go too in depth with that. I mean, if you were watching the preseason over the weekend, there are a lot of fun things. So continue to take that with a grain of salt. Devon A-Chain is okay. He's week to week, but very scary hearing about him going down on Saturday night or afternoon. But he seems to be okay. Obviously, I guess we didn't really talk about the Dalvin Cook to the Jets situation there. And let's talk about that, because I think, Jibbs, we found out that like half an hour after our show ended last week, we got the Zeke in, but we didn't get the Dalvin Cook in. So, Kyle, I'll let you start. How do you feel about Dalvin Cook as a New York Jet, and how do you think that impacts Breece Hall this season?
Yeah, I'm pretty scared for Breece Hall. I think he's moved way down my rankings. I think before this, the thought of, it seemed like he was kind of getting on track to play most of the season. How effective would he be still remains to be seen. But I was kind of willing to take a chance at a certain price. But now it's certainly, I think I had him ranked in half PPR rankings anyway. I think at RB 14, 13, something like that before Dalvin Cook news broke. And I mean, I don't even know how far he's fallen, probably out of the RB2 range for me. In fact, I was even making this point on a podcast. I almost think I'd rather have Dalvin Cook than Breece Hall straight up. Now, the news that Hall could start week one, I think that definitely tampers. I think I would reverse that. But my thinking was, if Cook's there to play games early in the season when Breece Hall is not, that would mean the best workload we get for a Jets running back all year is probably Cook before Hall comes back. Because once they're back, they're both together, they're probably going to split. And I would say, frankly, if they're both going to split the same number of touches, I probably would rather have Hall. Although, again, that remains to be seen how effective he is coming back from injury. But his explosiveness last year, if you can regain at least most of that, I'd rather have him than Cook. But I guess my concern, especially early in the season, is, especially if Hall's not ready, how many touches is Dalvin going to get to the point where he's going to be really startable early? And maybe he'll suck end of the year, but those first early weeks might be super key. So I think it's more than anything, I think it's just a fade of Breece Hall for me this year. I don't actually have any dynasty shares. I traded one away last year right as the injury happened. I managed to get Chris Olave out of it. That one's pretty good. I traded away this year to get who was at the time my RB1 in Dynasty, which was Ken Walker. This is, of course, before the NFL draft. I think I even gave up a third round pick to make it happen. So I paid on top of Hall to get Walker. That's how much I liked him. So that trade in hindsight probably isn't so good, but I'd rather have Walker this year at least. This is, I think, pretty scary for Hall, I think. And I mean, there's been signs all year the rumors of Dalvin have been persistent for a long time, pretty much since before he got released from Minnesota, actually, to be honest. But it just seems like they've been kind of the center of wanting to bring in running backs all year. There was talk they might want to draft Jahmyr Gibbs. Obviously, he went a lot earlier than anyone expected, but they obviously didn't take any. Well, Israel Abanikanda in the 5th round. I think some people might have thought, the rumors, they might go a lot earlier for a running back.
Yeah.
And so it seems like they've been hesitant about Hall's health, I'll say. And I still am too at this point.
All right. Coach Gibbs, how do you feel about the situation here?
Hey man, I was out on Brees Hall just due probably to the ACL injury and the concerns, and him not probably being like 100% or just like in like Brees Hall game ready shape like we saw last year for a significant part of the season. So like with Dalvin Cook there, like hey man, I wouldn't be surprised if it's maybe like a 55-45 in Cook's favor early on, and then as the season progresses, it kind of switches over. But I kind of don't want to take that significant investment in him. I know he was going in the third round before, but I guess he was going to be dropping significantly. I don't know about you guys, but like, what round would you feel comfortable drafting Brees Hall in?
Six.
If you had to.
Pulled
5,
up my
6.
rankings, and I've now have him at RB 27. This will actually be hilarious for you, Steve. Stuff we were talking about before the podcast. Immediately behind him is Rashad White, Javonte Williams, and James Cook. So that kind of tells you, and that's the range where I kind of view Hall right now. So too late to even have him in consideration. But I would imagine like that's probably a 5th round pick for me, maybe even later.
Yeah, that seems about right.
I have him at 15th right now still, and that's after the Dalvin Cook signing. To me, I mean, I get the concerns with the injuries and everything like that, and obviously the workload, but he was performing at a pretty high level without an elite workload still. It first started off with the passing unit. He was a great pass catching back, and he did great there. And then he turned into give me 20 carries a game, but the receptions were minimal. So I think Brees Hall can still thrive with Dalvin Cook there. And remember, Dalvin Cook is coming off shoulder surgery that he had this offseason here. So I don't know if he's 100% yet either. I mean, I get it. I think he will obviously take into Hall's work early on, Cook. But I think by the midseason, end of season, Hall is going to end up still being an elite back that we'll love in fantasy for us this season. While Cook will start hot, but maybe fade as the season goes down the stretch. But I'm still drafting him in the first, 60, 72 picks, round 5 or round 6. So I do like that.
If I can plug something real quick, I know you always organize charity leagues, so I figured this one you won't mind. Paulie's Playoff, which is done by Shane Barrett.
Yes, he'll be on later tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, awesome. Great. So there you go. A bit of a preview then. That's what we call a professional plug, even if I didn't know what I was doing. But I think there are maybe about like 24 different divisions in Paulie's Playoff. I'm in League 13. And Brees Hall, it's a super flex league. He went at 405. So to Gibbs's point, it's probably still way too early it's probably easy to avoid him because he's going so early.
And I got him at the 6-6 in the Poly League. So
Talk about
even within the same league, the same settings, how things can, and I guess that's more the affordable price. So
exactly. And I'm all happy taking him in round 6. So maybe round 5 if I want to, but definitely in round 6. So we have a question in the chat here from Trey. He wants us to rank his team. He just hit his first redraft league last night. It's full point PPR, pick number 2, no super flex, no premiums. And we're putting it on the screen here. He has Lamar at quarterback. Wide receivers are Jamar Chase and Garrett Wilson. Running backs are Ramondre Stevenson, Javonte Williams, flex Waddle. Tight end, Evan Ingram. And then he's got a bench of James Cook, Rashad White, Michael Pittman, Sky Moore, Rashad Penny, and Elijah Moore. How do you guys like this team? Give us a rating out of 10.
I mean, I'd have to say it's probably pretty close to 10. 9. If that's like making arguments on certain players. I guess the problem with Ingram is he's kind of in this middle tier where he's probably going to finish as a top 12 tight end, but if he's tight end 8 or 9 again like last year, that's not really going to make much of a difference. You're just as well off with maybe even an undrafted tight end. So that's maybe the one area where he doesn't have the elite tight end. So that's maybe why I'm hesitant to give it 10. Just that trio of receivers, and it is
great trio.
That's crazy.
Yeah, full PPR to go Chase, Wilson, Waddle, being able to start that most weeks. I'd say you're pretty happy. That's a lot of points, and then Lamar could finish as QB1. So that foundation, I think, is enough. That
Chips,
8 is the absolute lowest, I would say. But I'm hesitant to. My initial instinct was 9, so I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah, it's 8, 9 for me. It's just the wide receivers are amazing. Quarterback's amazing as well. So you kind of I like how you kind of just put everything into that right there. So you kind of just whip I wouldn't say whip from the running backs, but he kind of just let it happen. I guess the running backs would be like the only like area that's not going to be producing, but when you have the receivers like that, it's not even a problem. So even as the season progresses, there's a waiver wire, so he could find himself a stud. And
okay, this is Javonte, James Cook, Rashad White. You just can't escape that trio for some reason tonight.
Great trio, yeah. Yeah, I gave it as like a 9 too. I think it's a really good team overall. Again, the tight end position, I'm not a big fan of Ingram this year, but again, you have to, you have a great team surrounding him that it can make up for any mistakes that he has. So I really do like this team a lot. If Rashad Penny gets cut, which I think could potentially happen, go pick up Jake Ferguson just as a backup tight end, just in case early on, because I think he could be a surprise early on in the season. But Trey, really good team, man, overall. So thanks for tuning into the show, my friend.
Well,
all right.
Just to that, I did a podcast on this on the Full Press Fantasy Pod last year. I'm planning to do it again. Probably record it Monday night, probably like halftime of the Monday night game. And it's just to go over which tight ends got the most targets week 1. And I find that there'll be a couple of outliers that it'll be just a 1 week thing. But for the most part, those early target getters are going to maintain throughout the season. And you could speculate in the offseason, but that's what I love absolutely doing, Steve, what you said. Pick up a tight end after week 1. Just filter by targets. Who's the best available tight end that got the most targets week 1? If it's a tie, break it with who's in the better offense or, which player you believe in the most. Pick up that player and just see if they're constantly gaining targets. And the reason I don't love taking like an Evan Ingram, where I prefer to like take an Irv Smith a lot later. If I see week 1, Irv Smith's not the guy that's getting targets and someone else's, that's the player I'm going to drop. Ingram's probably too good that you, like, to your point, you'd probably drop Rashad Penny. If Sky Moore is behind Rashee Rice this year, and he's already got other players around him that are out producing him, maybe Sky Moore is safe to drop too in that regard. And you tandem it with Ingram and that other tight end, and through the season you see who's reliable. Because one thing I'll say about Ingram, he is tied to a really good quarterback, and I think about that range of tight end. I love Dalton Schultz, but there are questions about him being tied to a rookie tight end. I think he'll garner the targets, but David Njoku, what type of quality are we getting from Watson? Dulcich, what kind of quality are we getting from Wilson? Right? It seems like Ingram at least has the most security at quarterback. Like Freiermuth's going in that range, and that's one I really don't understand, because I don't really want to be tied to Kenny Pickett. Least of all those names, he's got the most questions, I think. So at least Ingram's got that solid quarterback.
It's true. Yeah, no, Trey, definitely good. Great team overall, my friend. All right, so let's get into our main topic of the day, guys. Like I said, we were talking about the middle rounds of ADP right now, round 6 to 10. We're basically going to show you my PowerPoint, as I always do. Basically talk about players that, we're not as high on. We don't like them in round 6 or in the round, or we do like them and maybe they could get pushed up a little bit here and there. And then we're going to mock each round, kind of a little fun game where we'll just go one by one, each of us, and we'll just mock and do a quick mock there. So let's get started. All right. Well, not round 10, little preview. But round, not 7 either. Round 6. We're going to start with round 6, of course, because that's the next one in our order here. All right, so in round 6, you have no quarterbacks going in terms of ADP. In terms of running back, you have DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Rashad White. Tight ends, you have Dallas Goedert, Darren Waller. Well, Darren Waller is actually now in the top 60, but we didn't talk about him last week because he wasn't in the top 60 in terms of ADP a week ago, but now he is. And then at wide receiver, we have Christian Watson, Chris Godwin, Tyler Lockett, Mike Williams, and Brandon Ayuk. So Kyle, you can go first because obviously you're our guest. Give us somebody, 1 or 2 players or whatever you don't like in this range, or you might not have anyone. You might like them all.
Yeah, well, you know what? There's almost that trio of running backs, right? Javonte, Rashad White. Where's James Cook, though? His brother's there, so I guess it kind of counts. But I feel like that is the correct range for them. You'll have to remind me. I did watch last week, but that was a whole week ago. I've watched so much since then. Was Cam Akers in the last episode, or is he below this?
I believe he's below this. I think. Oh, let me look.
Check this out.
I think he was last week.
Okay.
I think he's in round 5.
I might prefer Cam Akers over all these running backs. That's someone kind of going in that range too. But I think this looks pretty good. I would say maybe, this range of wide receiver, it's so flat that the guys you get in round 6, round 7, maybe even round 8 are all going to seem similar. But from what I can look at my rankings, usually these are the guys I'm pushing up in the rankings: Godwin, Lockett, Ayuk, especially. So, yeah, this seems like this is a good range.
All right. Jibs, how do you feel about this range here? Is there anyone you don't like?
I like the group of people. I do have some inks against Dallas Goedert and obviously DeAndre Swift. So besides that, I think you're getting fantastic value for all these players to be, I guess, like the 2s or 3s on your teams, respectively.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much issue. I think Dalvin Cook still in round 6, is a little high still for me because I don't like his season long projection. I think early on, yeah, it definitely helps, but I think he might deserve to be a little more down on this list. But everyone else, I mean, I have no issue with. I mean, I could take Dallas Goedert in round 6, but again, I'm not always like, doesn't really thrill me to take Dallas Goedert in round 6 overall. But it's a pretty good.
You do it to avoid having to take Evan Ingram.
Right, exactly. And we'll talk about him in I think a round or two. But yes, you do that to not take Evan Ingram.
Well, actually, to that point, one name that I think I'm doing the opposite. This is the range where I'd want to take Kyle Pitts because I've got him in a tier with Waller and Goddard. So the fact that Pitts is going probably sometimes 2, maybe 3 rounds earlier than this that's also the reason you don't want to reach on a Kyle Pitts when you can just get Goddard here.
He actually would be in this list. He's actually ADP 62, but because we talked about him last week, because he was in round 5, he fell to round 6. Yes, Waller moved up and Kyle Pitts moved down. So,
which I have Waller in my top 5, so I've definitely Waller over Pitts in a single season format.
I like it. If you had to take one player in this round overall, who would be that player to take in this round that gives you the best upside?
Does that mean we're mock drafting now?
No, not yet. Just one player. If you had one pick in general sense in this round, all these players were available and there was no one else, who would be the player you liked the most?
I mean, if I didn't have a tight end, it's definitely Waller. But if I had a tight end, it's definitely not Waller. So I think team construction obviously matters the most there.
Of course.
I'm going to make the assumption that I've taken Kelsey. There we go. I'm happy with my team already. I've got Kelsey on it. So that's how you coach things up, right? That's how you do things in the coaches now.
That is true.
So of the running backs, wide receivers, I'm looking at Godwin and Lockett. And Godwin's ability to draw targets and, frankly, Lockett's ability to just outperform his ADP every year. Those would probably be the two I'd bank on the most, I think.
Okay. Jibs,
I know you said one, but
that's okay.
It's the floor upside, right? Like Godwin's probably the best floor play, but Lockett's weekly upside is so great that and I suppose knowing myself, this is usually around the part where I switch from safety in the first few rounds to start going upside. So if I assume I had, say, Kelsey and safe options, I probably would go Lockett.
I respect it. Coach Jibs?
I'll take Christian Watson. Even though his value, it's kind of been weird. You see round 5, now he's round 6. I think some sites have him round 4, but if you get him around 6, to me, I think that's an absolute deal, and he can provide upside. I loved what I saw from Jordan Love last week. I know preseason albeit, but hey, if he's going to be the main, I guess, one of the leaders on that offense, I'll take him right now. So I definitely like Watson right here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely like that pick there a lot there. I mean, I could go that direction as well. I do like Brandon Ayuk a lot this year still. I would be pretty happy taking him in round 6 if I had him, depending on my format. And even so, even if my wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 flex, I'd be pretty happy if he fell to me in round 6 overall. So, all right, let's get over to doing a mock of this round here. Kyle, you go first. We'll do it quickly, one by one. Go in order. Who's your first pick in this round?
So, because there's only 2 of us, or 3 of us, but only 2 tight ends, someone's going to not have one. And even though I tend to not like the tight end position so much, I like Darren Waller enough that I don't want to be without him. So I'll take Waller here. Even though, again, it's technically cheating because he's not in this range yet.
That's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Jibs, your first pick?
You already know I'm picking Christian Watson, so line it up.
Yeah, I know. I like that. Okay, the third pick in this round, I'll probably end up taking Brandon Ayuk. Like I said, I the one player I'd want to take in this round for sure. Outside of Darren Waller, obviously, if I really wanted the tight end, but definitely Brandon Ayuk. Kyle, we'll go back to you. Who's the next player in this range here, outside of the 3, obviously?
So again, safety or upside, I think Waller, there's a bit of risk with that Giants offense, so although there's a lot of risk with the Bucs offense, but again, it seems like Godwin's such a safe option to draw targets that I'm going to take Chris Godwin here.
All right, Chris Godwin with the 4th pick. Jibs, you're on with the 5th pick here. What do we got?
I'm gonna take Alvin Kamara, I guess, even with the suspension. I could find 3 peddlers for a week. And I like his chances late season with a dynamic upgrade with quarterback. So
Okay,
I'll take that.
All right, stole my pick there. I like it. With the 6th pick, I'm going to take Tyler Lockett. You know, what Kyle was saying about his big playability to his game there, I still think he's going to have a role in this Seattle offense here. So I'll take him with the 6th pick. All right, Kyle, back to you for the 7th. What do we got here? We got Goddard, Williams, and basically all the running backs besides Kamara.
Yeah. Well, maybe I shouldn't have taken Waller if the tight ends are going to fall. Darn. Just like that. Good snipe on Lockett there. I guess of the remaining running backs, DeAndre Swift is my highest ranked. Kind of like his opportunity with the Eagles. A little concerned about his pass catching role, but maybe there's some good touchdown upside there. So I'll take DeAndre Swift.
Okay. Jibs, what do you got here?
Oh, wow. Damn.
Not a lot of options.
Yeah, not really. I guess will be forced into taking Rashad White.
Okay, I like it. All right. So with the 9th pick, I'm going to go back to the wide receiver and take Mike Williams. The upside that Kellen Moore's offense could potentially have for him. I'd like to buy into that potential upside, even with the injury risk. So, and Kyle, back to you for 10. So there's Goddard, Williams, and Cook left.
Yeah, I think I guess I'll take the upside shot on Javonte Williams and hope he gets back to health.
All right. And Jibs, the 11th pick.
I'll take Dallas Goddard.
Dallas Goddard.
Even though I just disparaged him earlier.
That's okay.
This is why you took him with your last pick. Right?
Yes.
And of course, I got left with Dalvin Cook, so that which makes close to sense. So yes, Dalvin Cook it is. All right, over to the next round of round 7 here. In this round, we do have some quarterbacks. Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson are going in round 7 in terms of ADP. Running backs, Isaiah Pacheco, David Montgomery, James Cook go in this round. In round 7, tight ends, Evan Ingram. He makes an appearance finally on the board here. And then, of course, we have Christian Kirk for wide receiver, Michael Pittman, Mike Evans, Deontay Johnson, Marquise Brown, and George Pickens. So is there anyone you don't like in this round? I think we can assume that Evan Ingram is the one player we don't care for in this round. But, Kyle, I'll let you go. Go ahead.
I don't know why Deontay Johnson and George Pickens are in the same round. To me, Deontay's so far clearly ahead of him. He almost doubled him in targets last year. And I know Pickens has some big playability, but I also don't think Kenny Pickett's the quarterback you should rely on for big playability. So Pickens is someone I'm probably avoiding in fantasy this year. So yeah, he's the one for me he definitely doesn't belong with this group.
All right, I like it. Jibs, who do you not like in this round if you have somebody?
Michael Pittman.
Michael Pittman. Okay.
Tied to a quarterback we have questions about, right?
Oh yeah, it could pay out, but I'm not paying a 7th round capital on something that's a fallacy for me to believe.
I like it. For me, it's probably Mike Evans. I don't trust the quarterback situation, and it doesn't make me feel good taking Mike Evans in round 7. Like if I'm going to take Mike Evans in round 7, I'm not thrilled with it. Like it doesn't provide me with any like, oh wow, because he's older, injury risk, quarterback situation. So, all right. So some player that you really like in this round, or someone that should be moved up in terms of ADP. Kyle.
Well, who's picking first in this round? Am I picking first every round?
No, we rotate on the mock. So,
whatever. I have to be honest. I looked at my rankings. I have Christian Kirk ranked ahead of almost everyone else that was in round 6, other than Chris Godwin. He's the only receiver I had ranked ahead of him. So I think it's Kirk. I think regardless of what Calvin Ridley does this year, Christian Kirk's role is locked in on that team. He saw 131 targets last year. And they won a playoff game. They found success with that route. I don't think that goes away regardless of how good Calvin Ridley is. So I think Kirk's probably locked in for another 130 target season, potentially even more. So I like him as. I think it's going to be. I think Ridley will have to have an amazing season to be the wide receiver 1 on this team. I think the safer option to be wide receiver 1 on the Jags is Kirk. Maybe Ridley does it, but I'd rather bank on the guy we just saw do it with this quarterback as opposed to the new receiver coming to a new team who was good at one point. Injuries and a long absence aside, it's been a while, but there was upside. But I don't know. I think I just think Kirk's not coming off the field. Like, regardless of Ridley's there or not, that's probably your 2 main starting receivers. Zay Jones going to be there in 11 personnel, which may run a lot of, to be fair. That seems like that would be their best base set. So just think if he saw that many targets last year, regardless of Ridley being there or not, he earned those targets. I'm sure Lawrence will continue to ditch that towards him. To me, Ingram would be the one that worry about because he was 3rd last year behind Kirk and Zay Jones. So if Ridley comes, what that might do is just we're going to monopolize wide receiver targets even more, and those 3 get almost everything, and it goes away from Ingram. Maybe Zay Jones is the one that's the victim of it, but the scenario I'd really have a hard time seeing is Christian Kirk losing a bunch of targets.
I like it. Jibs, anyone you really like?
David Montgomery.
Okay.
But for another name, I do like Marquise Brown too. He's kind of, I wouldn't say like he deserves to be moved up like significantly, but like just to highlight that he is going to be the number 1 option. There's Rondale Moore if you're into that kind of guy, and rookie Michael Wilson. So like, I think he's still a prime opportunity to be a huge target getter, albeit it's going to be a pretty bad offense and the offense that's liable to tank at one point this year. But I still think you're going to get some decent value for where you're getting them in drafts.
I think Hakeem Butler just got released today. Maybe he signs back with the Cardinals where it all started.
Oh my God, Jesus!
That actually brings me to the guy I like is Marquise Brown, honestly. I mean, last year we saw Marquise Brown dominate without DeAndre Hopkins on the field. They really don't have – I mean, I like Michael Wilson. He's still a rookie. But, Marquise Brown is the veteran number 1 wide receiver on this team here. And we don't know if – we don't know when Kyler Murray's coming back. But if he comes back sooner than many predict, Marquise Brown could be in for a good season. And he's going much later than his value could end up being by season end. So Marquise Brown's a guy I like a lot in this round. But before we get to our mock – there are some fun breaking news to talk about real quick. Indianapolis Colts have allowed Jonathan Taylor to seek a trade.
Freedom! Free at last!
Real quickly.
And he gets traded to the Jets.
No.
That would be great, honestly.
So, as much as there's excitement, Jibs, just be careful what you wish for because the landing spot might not be what we want, feel like right?
A lot of backfields are pretty like content.
Well, that's the thing. He might not get traded, right? Someone might they might be just baiting the Colts after everything they've said. I know some people have talked about, is he going to get franchise tag? It makes it sound like the Colts don't want him at all. Like,
no,
they're running him out in his rookie contract, and even franchise tagging him is more than what they're willing to spend on a running back right now. So I'd imagine he's a free agent next year. I think a lot of teams are just going to dare the Colts to let him walk, and they'll pay if they want Taylor. They'll pay him next year because it's going to be, is it going to be the same issue that's right now with the Colts if a team trades for him but doesn't give him the long-term extension? Like, it almost seems like that team trading for him is going to want that extension in place. So why negotiate with him now when you can just wait for next year? So my quick thought is he's probably not getting traded, even if this is because I thought weren't the Titans shopping Derrick Henry, that there was talk, the Chubb and the Browns, there was trades. Like I think every team has been rumored to, potentially want to trade their running back in the last year of their contract. But like, look how long it took for Cook and Zeke to get signed. Like, it seems like there's not enough demand to make me think a team will. Because here's the thing, the Colts probably aren't going to do it if they're just getting like a 5th or 6th round pick.
Yeah, probably not.
Because if they let him walk, they probably get a compensatory pick. So you'd have to imagine they're getting a 4th just for having him on the team this year, and they'll get that compensatory pick next year in the form of a 4th. So you'd imagine the trade offers have to start with a 3rd round pick. And is any team really willing to give up a 3rd right now just for a running back? As great as Jonathan Taylor is, and I love Jonathan Taylor.
Probably not.
I think he plays for the Colts this year.
We'll see. We will see. I could see a midseason trade happen for them, but we're not going to go too much into it, obviously, because we have no idea what's going to happen with that situation. But we'll find out soon enough, hopefully.
Jonathan Taylor to the Chiefs, right? That's what everyone wants.
That's what I was just thinking.
That's
possible.
the ideal. Like that's a spot where I'd love that for him and his value. But
yeah,
I think that would break the NFL.
That would break the NFL. That would be fun. The play they should have taken the originally pick. All right, so let's get into the mock now. Jibs, you're going to get first pick on this one. Who's your first pick in this round here?
First pick's going to be Deontay Johnson.
Deontay Johnson? Okay. Take my guy. Who am I taking here? I'm probably going to take Christian Kirk. Sorry, Kyle.
You took my guy.
I did take your guy. I mean, I like Christian Kirk too. No lie. I mean, you talked about him already, so I didn't want to talk about him again. But I do like Christian Kirk.
It's the smart pick, so good job.
Thank you.
And I'm going to take Jib's guy and Marquise Brown because I think
that was my guy.
I think the three things those receivers all have is volume. We know they've earned targets. Like Marquise Brown is the only receiver that's been in Baltimore that's gotten more targets than Mark Andrews. And that's how much he's just as a rookie did that. So that's all Brown has done his whole career, just command targets. So
yes. So we took each other's player now at this point that we all really liked, which is great. So Jibs, you're back. Now we have no players you can steal. So where are we at here?
David Montgomery.
Montgomery.
I still like the potential. I won't say volume. He wouldn't be as much volume, but I think he'll have some standalone enough to support you as an RB2 most weeks.
They end up being more efficient on this Lions team with a much better offensive line.
Oh yeah, get you a stud running back and get you David Montgomery in the rear.
Even if he doesn't see 250 carries like he was with the Bears, I think there's still upside there on a 150 carry season.
Give me 40 and 6 and a touchdown. I mean 40 and a touchdown. Boom.
40 and a touchdown. I like it. I'm probably going to go with James Cook here. I like the potential upside that he could offer in this offense here. I like that he's been being very involved in the first team offense, even though Damian Harris has been out. But I like his upside that he can offer. So I'm going to take James Cook here.
You know, I think at this point, I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson. I think he does rebound this year.
I like it.
I know in a lot of my projections, I'm banking on a lot of rebounds for a lot of quarterbacks. So it's only fair I do it across the board, whether it's Watson, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. I kind of view that how bad they were last year is minimal relative to how well they've done basically every other year of their careers. So as much as you could think, is that the year do they all fall off the same time? Even though they're all three very different ages. Maybe this was the beginning and end for all of them, but I have a feeling I could see all three rebounding. Maybe not all three will, but I'll take the shot on Watson.
All right. Like it. Jibs, you're back up.
I'm going to take George Pickens.
George Pickens. Okay. I like it. Taking both Steelers at this point. I like it.
Oh, yeah, man. Kenny Pickett.
Oh, man. I'm probably
you might be able to take him later, too, if you want the stack.
Oh, yeah, man.
I don't know what round he goes in. He might not be in any of the rounds, but we'll
definitely maybe that's for the best.
Definitely not in this pod, at least. It's definitely not in this episode. But I'll probably just take Dak Prescott there. I think in terms of what's left on the board here, I do like the reliability that Dak offers, and he has a really good offense surrounding him. Hopefully they can just keep him alive, and it's not just a run-first offense consistently. So I do like Dak Prescott still. Again, I'm not taking these wide quarterbacks in round 7 still, because we talked about this last week's episode. The quarterbacks have pushed up in a general sense, but some leagues there might be high quarterbacks. Some leagues you might have these guys in round 10. So it just depends on your league, but this is where they're going on average. Kyle, you're back up.
I think quarterback strategy, regardless if it's super flex or redraft, is always the same. You're always reading the room. It's just in super flex, it becomes so obvious that you have to do it early. But like the whole, whether it's a super flex or redraft, there's still pockets of quarterbacks I really want to target. In a super flex, I definitely want to take one in the first round to hopefully get a top 9, top 10 quarterback. Maybe that means Watson, to be honest, at the end of the first.
No, that's definitely a good pick.
But would ideally like that Burrow, Herbert, Lamar Jackson range, because it's not quite as early as the top 3, but there's still difference makers where they all could be the QB1 or close to it. So like you get a bit of a discount on them. So that's usually like those are the 3 I really like to target. But now in a super flex, that you have to take them in the first round. But in a single QB, that you might be fine on them in the 5th round.
And who's the player that you're going to think about next?
Yes, that big spiel. Well, talk about consistency. All those 1,000-yard seasons, but even though he's weekly, very not a consistent receiver, very boom bust because of the touchdowns. I think Baker's a good enough quarterback that I will bank on Mike Evans. If you told me right now Kyle Trask was going to start most of the season, I definitely wouldn't. But I believe, there's rumors Carson Wentz is still. I mean, we know Carson Wentz is still out there, but there's rumors that might be how the Bucs decide to go. Competition between a former first overall quarterback and a former second overall quarterback. Not a lot of teams can say that. Frankly, usually those teams are in a bad situation when that happens.
Oh,
but
the whole Bucs offense is scary.
Project number, I guess, is this 3 or 4 for Baker now?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
This will be his 4th different team in the last. I guess he was technically under contract in February and March of 2022. So what? That's 18 months.
4 teams in 18 months. Oh God, that's rough. Poor Baker.
If Caleb Williams is there next year, I guess it'll be 5 in 3 years.
Ooh, so. The Dolphins are expected to at least explore the option for Jonathan Taylor.
We're
not gonna get to it. We're not gonna get into craziness of that. But all right, Jibs,
I think about the coaches one play league that I'm in, and I think I took both H8 and Wilson. That would just completely demolish that. Those are definitely you're holding those for late in the season. I think those plays early.
Definitely. With my next pick, I'm gonna pick. That's kind of risky, but like Isaiah Pacheco, even though like you're kind of taking a banged up player before the off season, before the season even starts, but he's still tied to that Kansas City offense. I'm not really expecting that pass it. I mean, receiving upside with Jarrett McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire shadow still there, but I still think he could get a couple, maybe more touchdowns than he did last year, at least on the ground. So now,
we need him to get on the field. I know he's just getting back, so hopefully he's get on the field and actually starts practicing. But
I guess the one good news about Pacheco, this isn't an injury that happened like recently in training camp. Like this is left over from the playoffs, and it's just the recovery time. It'd be much like I'm scared of the Cooper Kupp just getting this hamstring injury recently. Yeah, but you're also not spending a first-round pick on Pacheco like you are.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Then. I'm going to take Michael Pittman, obviously. Yeah, Michael Pittman's the wide receiver 1. I mean, come on. It's Michael Pittman's wide receiver 1 still, 120 targets hopefully for him. So I don't think Evan Ingram is getting over 100 this year.
And that's what I figured. As soon as I realized I'd be last year, I kind of accept, I'll get Ingram in the last round. That's fine. Take the tight end here too. Yeah.
You have the easy one, the last pick.
I didn't get Christian Kirk, so at least I got a piece of the Jags offense.
There you go.
But just it does baffle me again, like, Kirk, 131 targets last year. Ingram, 98 targets last year. And maybe they both say the same. Maybe Ingram goes up, but like for them to both be in the same rounds, it's not quite as extreme to me as Deontay and Pickens, but it's that same kind of effect. Like, how would I do this?
It's the position difference there with tight ends and wide receivers.
Yeah, the scarcity, right? But yes. I think when you get to tight end like 7 or 8, scarcity doesn't exist anymore because tight end 7's probably going to score what tight end 25 scores. Just marginally different. Gets the extra touchdown over the course of the season. But once you get past tight end 6, we'll say 7 this year, I think because I think Ingram's going as the tight end 8. So let's say like Goddard, right, is that kind of line of where Goddard can usually make enough of a difference to finish as like a top 6 tight end. He just has another big touchdown season to finish higher than that. But I think it's also remarkable of Goddard is that he's been able to finish tight end 6 over all these years without a touchdown. Because usually that's what it takes. It's the guy that gets like 7, 8, 9 touchdowns that'll boost his way up. Right. So it also shows Goddard's kind of staying power. But I think beyond that, why bother taking the tight end now? Especially with my philosophy, I'll just drop him week 1 for the guy that's getting more targets. I want to make as minimal of an investment in the tight end if I don't get a difference.
Sure.
Which again, that's why he fell the last one in this little draft.
Right. All right. Over to round 8 now. We got some different players here now. In round 8, Tua Tagovailoa is projected to go in terms of ADP. Running backs, A.J. Dillon, Brian Robinson, Rashad Penny, Antonio Gibson. But Rashad Penny did I already talk about him? I feel like I did.
That was the team. Was it Tupa's team?
The teams. Yes, thank you. Rashad Penny, Antonio Gibson, Jamal Williams, Khalil Herbert. Tight ends, Pat Freiermuth and David Njoku. Wide receivers, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Jordan Addison, and Jahan Dotson here. So is there anyone you don't like in this range? Kyle.
The tight ends. I mean, it's the same. Freiermuth and Njoku. Again, I would rather have Ingram than both of them, so it makes sense that he's going around ahead of them. So that makes it even less sense for these guys because they don't have the QB upside to. Oh, maybe Njoku does. Maybe if Watson does take that step back, but I think you're risking a lot there. yeah, I don't want to draft either of them, especially Favre. Like Pickett, no way.
I get it. Jibs.
Although to be fair, he had more targets than Pickens, so Pickens is going a full round. It kind of makes me want to avoid both, but yeah. Sorry.
Mine would be Njoku. It's just you see her all off season. Elijah Moore. Obviously, you have Cooper. Nick Chubb's trying to get involved in the passing game. So like, I just can't. I know like the tight end position in Cleveland are like, it's a viable place to get some fantasy production, but I don't want to spend a round 8 pick on them when you're getting like quality players just as you just named them in this range as well. So that's my main grief with them.
Yeah, I mean, outside the tight ends, that makes a plenty of sense. I'm not wanting to take these guys in the round that their ADP is. I mean, Rashad Penny for me still, he's dropping. He's been dropping a little bit after I've been doing these. I mean, I don't know what's going on there. He seems to be third on the depth chart at the moment. I mean, I think he could be cut, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised.
That was my instinct when he signed the contract. This is so minimal that, especially when Swift was traded for, my initial thought was, is Penny's spot on this team safe at all? Whereas everyone seemed to be propping him up, but I know I projected things on pretty early, and I thought Gainwell was ahead of. I have Gainwell ahead of Penny in my projections, so I've kind of been on the Gainwell ahead of Penny train for a while. So
he sure is. So that's the only one that I wouldn't feel comfortable today taking him until we knew obviously what happens afterwards. Because if he gets cut around 8 pick, man, that's still a pretty hefty toll. So I really wouldn't want to take him. So
and again, see how long it is for running backs to get jobs after being released. Right?
That is true. Kyle, is there anyone in this round you liked a lot? They're like, I had to take this
happy
guy
and say potentially Tua. I'm like, I think he probably should be going in the same range as Dak and Watson. I think I even have him ranked ahead of Dak in my redraft ranking and dynasty rankings, frankly. So, no, there's the injury concerns with Tua, but man, the upside's there for sure. So, he's probably the one.
Jibs, how do you?
That is my answer as well. My breakout quarterback Tua. So, besides that, I do love Jahan Dotson.
Damn, yeah. I mean, those are probably my 2 biggest guys in this round. I really like are Tua and Watson. Obviously, I like Jackson Smith and Jigba a lot too. But again, he is the 3rd wide receiver, and I just don't know how that target share is going to go. So it does concern me slightly. But I mean, he's a very interesting player in this fantasy world this year. So I do like him a lot. So again, this round's like there's a couple players that really stand out. There's a lot of like mesh of running backs. All these running backs are just a mesh together kind of group. So let's mock it and see how we do here. I'll go first, and I am probably gonna lean. I'm gonna leave Jahan Dotson on this one. I love the upside that he offers and the difference in position here between him and Tua. I want to take Dotson because I think there's a big upside play for him in this coming season here. So he's my first pick in this round.
And I know you believe in Howell, right? So you're thinking this is a step up at quarterback, and look what he did last year with Carson.
Nothing. Right.
Who, to be fair, has been good on the field, but it doesn't look like he's good in the locker room. That's really where Wentz's deficiencies are. For fantasy, he's been fine in terms.
He's great in fantasy, yeah.
But I mean, I said Tua earlier. I think I'm going to stick with that. Just he provides a ton of upside here, that more than probably anyone in this range, to be honest. So.
I like it. Jibs.
Oh man, took all the good people. I guess I'll go. I'm gonna dig into these running backs. I'm gonna go with Khalil Herbert.
Okay.
Try to get that first Bears running back early. Hopefully he could pass block better to be on the field more. And I know he might be splitting time eventually with Roshan. So
now this, to be fair, the Bears are probably the team where maybe the least concerned with the passing down role, right? Because of how little they pass.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. It's all about running the ball. Whoever gets the most carries wins the job at the end of the day. So,
which I would expect it's Herbert. As much as I love Roshan, and I do think he's more talented than Herbert, I think Herbert's probably going to get the bulk, or maybe not the bulk, but
I am concerned that Roshan's not getting on the field early on in preseason so far, but maybe they're working him in slowly.
Again, it seems like his best qualities are the passing ones, but again, that's what this offense doesn't necessarily prioritize. So it's almost, in a sense, it was almost the worst team for him to go to.
Yeah, I did not like this pick that he went to, but what can we do? So, all right.
I loved it for, he doesn't have someone in front of him that he can't overcome, but the more I think about it, the more, He was a little high on Roschon coming out.
I was too. Let's see. I'm going to take Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like I said, I love the upside that he offers in this offense. He's looked good in preseason so far. Again, it's tough with obviously him being the third wide receiver on this team here, but I'm hoping that he will flash at times during the season. So
I'm going to open up a debate we've had on the Full Press Fantasy Pod, the Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson debate. It's funny. This is apparently Washington's taking full command of this round 8 here.
They really are. Wow. There's a lot of people in this round.
But yeah, George Carmi, one of my co-hosts on the podcast, he's also our Full Press Coverage Commanders managing editor. He's season ticket holder. Like I'm the Packers managing editor, but I live in a different country. So I won't have as much access as, say, some of our other managing editors like George, who's, boots on the ground at practice. And he prefers Robinson to Gibson. He just thinks Robinson's going to get the most of the carries, and Gibson's kind of going to be pushed more towards the gadget player. But I'm actually going to take Antonio Gibson because that's the debate I've had, is that just that pass catching upside. Whereas I think Robinson, I don't love this offense as a whole. I think it'll be one of the lowest scoring offenses in the league, and I don't love the early down plotter for that type of offense. I think his touchdown upside is capped. See it as necessarily being higher than Gibson's, who could simply score more from the passing game. Now, the one thing George was saying is Robinson's also working more on 3 downs. So if it really is like a true 50-50 split and they're both playing both downs, I suppose I think I like what I've seen more from Robinson. But until we see them do that, Gibson has had that more pass catching upside. So I think I'm taking Gibson right now.
I like it. Jibs?
I will take AJ Dillon. Even though he's behind Aaron Jones and whatnot, I still think he has a pretty. His role is like kind of cemented. Like the guy's going to get you 12, 13, 14, maybe 12 rushes, maybe 2 on the receiving end.
He's had 180 carries 2 years in a row. So
yeah,
so that's what it is.
What would that be? Yeah. So it's good enough. Like this opportunity, you just gotta you just gotta think the Packers will be better than what the public thinks. And if that's true, I think AJ Dillon's good value where you're getting him at. Because I know last year he was probably in the same range, maybe a little bit later. I don't know.
He was going in round 6, round 7, and I think that was a mistake. I think this is high end, but definitely a better value for Dillon right now.
This is a 2-round fall because he disappointed people last year.
Okay.
Right. I usually do my ESPN drafts last, and they just had him criminally underrated. I think he was pick 100 something. So
yeah, ESPN's the worst.
The steal. So I just kept thinking it was that, but yeah. So there you go, AJ Dillon.
Yeah, I'll probably take Brian Robinson now. I do want to give Brian Robinson another shot because I did like him coming out of college as a potential 3-down workhorse. I kind of made him out to be kind of like Derrick Henry a little bit. I'm hoping that maybe with a full off season, nothing bad will happen to him, and he'll be able to get on the field and show his true talent for the entire season. So I'll take him there.
It's funny because when Jib was explaining why he took AJ Dillon, it's almost my same argument. We know what he is. He's behind another explosive 2017 draft classed back. He didn't say that, but I'm pointing out between the Kamara and Jones being that same draft class. It's funny. Jamal was actually in that draft class too. But I think we know what his role is going to be. Right? He's going to potentially get good goal line opportunities. May not see many receptions. I don't think he's going to see as many touchdowns he did last year, but looks like he's the number 2 back there. I love Kendre Miller, but I don't think he's going to usurp Jamal Williams. So I'll take Williams right here.
All right, Jibs.
I'll take Jordan Addison. Sorry.
There you go.
I still think he has a role there. He's just got to kind of battle it out with KJ Osborne, but he's pretty much on track to be that 2 behind. That was Adam Thielen last year. So
100 targets last year.
Yeah. So boom, you don't really get that impact from a rookie. So I like him here.
I like it. All right. So it's only 3 players left here. I'm going to talk Pat Freiermuth.
I was going to vote. Do we just skip it because we hate all 3 of these players? No.
Yeah. No. We'll do it real quick. Pat Freiermuth. I mean, I like his potential still. I still like him. I just don't know if I like him in this round per se, but I do like him in his long-term value, and I think he can still have a really good season. So, Kyle, Penny or Joke?
Well, it's weird because in this range, it always tells me chase the running back depth. We're not really doing an actual team build here. Well, right, I guess we might because I could actually feel I don't have any wide receivers. I need a pass catcher somewhere. So I guess I'm going to go David Njoku.
All right, and Jibs, you end up with Rashad Penny.
I got drunk at the draft and drafted Rashad Penny. Sorry, guys.
Sorry. All right, round 9. We got a lot of quarterbacks in round 9. Aaron
Tight
Jones,
ends. I'd like to see
Kirk
that.
Cousins, Daniel Jones in quarterbacks. Running back, Samaje Perine, Zach Charbonnet. Wide receivers, Brandon Cooks, David, God, I'm talking well at all tonight. Gabriel Davis, Treylon Burks, Michael Thomas, Kadarius Toney, and Odell Beckham. All right, so we're going to stick to just bad, and we're going to do the mock. So, Kyle, give us, do you like and you dislike anyone in this range?
Yeah, I guess there's a couple of wide receivers that stand out. I think maybe just because I like all the other ones better, but I'm questioning Burks' potential upside on the Titans. I don't see nearly as much upside as I do with basically every other receiver there, so he's the one that stands out to me. I don't know that I might like him more than both the running backs, to be fair, but like he just really stands out among that wide receiver. I like him the least of this, of that position.
Jibs?
I can't do it anymore. No Michael Thomas.
All right.
But
I respect it.
Yeah, it's just I just don't want to just put it down to health. They say he's looking better, but besides that, I would say Kadarius Toney too. Not really sound on him.
Yeah, I have issues with Kadarius Toney. The fact that he hasn't played yet and he a single snap this offseason, this preseason, or practice much, and he's still going in round 9 just baffles me overall. I just don't get it. Quarterbacks, I don't know. I wouldn't take Rodgers in round 9. I'd rather take Daniel Jones and Kirk Cousins personally. I don't know if I really like Rodgers in round 9, but that's really about it in terms of bad play for me this year.
I do have Rodgers ranked ahead of both Cousins and Jones, but to your point, I don't really want to take him in round 9. I guess in this case, you'd have to because the other two would fall. But if I saw all three on the board there in round 9, I don't know that I'd click the button. I'd play the game and hope one of them fell.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I mean, we're going to get to some other quarterbacks in round 10 too.
Right, so we are, yes.
At that price, I think it might be better to get.
Right, I like it. All right, so let's get into the mock for this round here. Kyle, you're back up. You get the first pick of whatever you want now. So
yeah, I like it because there's one player that really stands out to me, and it's Brandon Cooks. Now tied to Dak Prescott. I'm really curious to see what this offense looks like. I know Mike McCarthy has talked about wanting to run more, but literally everything they've done this offseason, other than get rid of Kellen Moore, everything they've done play-wise has said the opposite. They went and they signed Brandon Cooks. They got rid of Zeke, and they've kind of got a lot of UDFA players or just guys they picked up as free agents as the backup behind Tony Pollard. Really expect it. I don't know that they should reasonably expect Tony Pollard to get 350 carries. So I guess maybe Jerry Jones wants them to pass more, but the coach doesn't.
I don't know what they're doing over there.
The coach, I don't know. So there's a bit of confusion, but I'm reading it again. Regardless of what the coaches says, what did the team do with their money? And they've seemed to invest in the passing game. So they went and they traded. I believe they made a trade with the Texans. I think it was a late pick, but
still, it was a late pick. Yeah.
Enough to go out and get Brandon Cooks, who I think will be the wide receiver 2 on this team. Maybe there's a chance Gallup reemerges, but I like Cooks' role as a potential and likely potential second option on the Cowboys.
All right. Chips, what do we got?
I'll be spicy. I like Kirk Cousins here.
All right. Solid player overall. I like it. I'm going to go Gabriel Davis. Obviously, I'm still a big Gabriel Davis fan here. And, Stephon Diggs said to my Michael Smith. Not Michael Smith. Why am I thinking his name? Why can't I think of his name? Who's the
Michael
one
Robinson?
guy? No, the talk show guy. Michael A. Smith. Was that
Stephen A. Smith?
Stephen A. Smith. Oh my God.
Jesus.
I'm losing it today. Stephen A. Smith said, he had a little inside source that Stephon Diggs really don't care about being in Buffalo. So, I mean, it's not going to happen. But I still like Gabriel Davis's upside that he's offered. I don't know why.
Does that guy even know about football, though?
Everybody says that. Supposed to
I
be in
know.
that cold.
I mean, we knew
It's
that.
just funny.
We've known that Stephon Diggs has been displeased with the Bills since the playoff game. This isn't breaking news. Like, what does
It's
he
just
think
funny.
he is?
It's
My
just
God.
funny.
That's why you forgot his name, Steve, because
Yeah,
you don't
he's a
want to
bum.
share a name with him necessarily, and B, you don't want to forget him.
Yeah, but yeah, Gabe Davis is the guy I like here. So Kyle, you're back up here. What are you on your fourth pick now?
It's not just because I got the jersey, but I do love Gabe Davis. So.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. Back to the just expecting the quarterbacks to bounce back. I think, in my mind, if Garrett Wilson was on the Packers last year, they make the playoffs, and Rodgers does much better. And maybe the thumb injury and which hampered him for sure, but I just think not having that one alpha target that he could just rely on when he needed to was huge. And this offseason, I think, is all about getting the chemistry with Wilson. I think that's why he's put such an effort into it. Because he's realized this guy is here, but I've never thrown to him before. So I need to be here and throwing to him often. That's what it seems like in training camp. It's always just Rodgers to Wilson highlights. So I would imagine. I mean, he chose the Jets. I know he was traded, but essentially he chose the Jets. And I speculate that Garrett Wilson being there was a big reason. I think he wanted to go somewhere where he would have that reliable target. And I like Christian Watson, but Christian Watson's not Garrett Wilson, and I think Rodgers knows that more than us. But certainly as much as we do. And based on the ADP, of course, because I think all the fantasy people know that Garrett Wilson's much better than Watson. So I think he'll have a great season this year. I'll take him here.
Chibs.
I'll take the Fowler and Zach Charbonnet and make it like a cheaper part of the Seahawks rushing offense. I think that they spent second round capital on them. I think they're going to want to use them in tandem with Kenneth Walker. And you just hope that maybe Kenneth Walker gets nicked up for a game or two during the year for him to get a real good shining and impression on Pete Carroll. So I like him there.
Yeah, he's going to be interesting to see how he works out and how the Seattle offense in a general sense works out this season. There's so many mouths to feed in there, so it's very interesting. I'd probably take Samaje Perine here. I'm not sold on Javonte Williams' three catches in the preseason so far that he's back and ready to go just yet. I think Samaje Perine is still going to have a really big role in this offense here. And I think it's going to be just like 2 years ago when Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams did 50-50 split. I could really see that happening with him and Perine this year. So give me Perine here.
So earlier I mentioned, Marquise Brown so far has been the only wide receiver to earn more targets in a season than Mark Andrews since Lamar's been there. The Ravens, since they've all and Mark Andrews as well. Actually, I guess they were the same rookie season. So yeah, since they've both been there, that's Marquise Brown. That's the only guy. I think Beckham is talented enough to be that player where he could lead the Ravens in targets. Now, with all of his health issues, I wouldn't expect that. I still expect that to be Andrews that leads them as the most targeted Raven this year. But I can see Beckham getting more targets than the rookie Zay Flowers. And based on 2 years so far, Bateman's been pretty disappointing. I know he's been injured a lot, but even in the games he's played, he hasn't earned a massive target share. So
no, he has not.
Not for the. I would actually bank more on the rookie that we haven't seen yet than Bateman, who first rounder who has disappointed through 2 years. But maybe that's being too harsh to Bateman and maybe pumping up the rookie too much. But I think the wide receiver one on the Ravens this year is Beckham, assuming he's back to health. I'll take him here.
All right, Chibs.
I'll take Traylon Burks with that last pick of the round.
No, one more pick. Well, you have one more pick, so I don't, but you have one more pick.
Oh, well, still taking Traylon Burks.
All right, I like it. I'm probably going to take Daniel Jones. I don't really want to trust Michael Thomas or Kadarius Toney, so I'm going to take Daniel Jones. I'm hoping that the more he unlocks his passing, prowess or whatever here, that he ends up being better and more accurate with the football instead of the short passes he was taking last year. I'm hoping him going downfield more will help him a lot, and the rushing ability. So I'm going to stick with that. So, Kyle, you got one or two picks here: Michael Thomas or Kadarius Toney.
Well, we've got the guy that's just been injured seemingly every game for the last 3 years, and then Kadarius Toney, who seems he's been injured every game for the last 2 years and is injured right now. I think the fact that Thomas looks healthy right now speaks more than Toney. Again, back to the whole Isaiah Pacheco thing. I have more faith in Pacheco coming back because this was a planned absence. It's something that happened. Playoffs, he had to get surgery, and this is part of the rehab process towards the end. Toney just got injured with this in training camp, and that could linger through most of the season. So I'm pretty scared of Toney. I was pretty high on him before the injury, and I've kind of really dropped him down my rankings. I'm back to believing that Marquez Valdez-Scantling will be the Chiefs wide receiver 1 this year. And so he looks like he's healthy right now. At this price, I'll buy in again on Michael Thomas.
All right.
Last words, right, Jibs?
And Jibs, you get Kadarius Toney.
My man, Kit Kat.
I'm sure you were happy I made that choice, right, Jibs?
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome.
All right. We're into round 10 here. And of course, I didn't get a pick in the last round because in terms of ADP or defense or kicker ends up going in that round too, which is ridiculous. But we don't talk about those on these shows. So we're in round 10 now. We have some players here. Quarterbacks, Geno Smith, Anthony Richardson goes in round 10. No kickers, like it.
No
Love
kickers.
It. No kickers. No tight ends in this round. Running backs, Damian Harris, Devon Achane, Elijah Mitchell. Wide receivers, Elijah Moore, Cortland Sutton, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Zay Flowers. So does anyone in this round, Kyle, you don't like, really? It could be a couple.
Here's the thing with Damian Harris. Everyone seems to be pricing him as if he's the clear number 2. Like he's going to get the goal line work majority. His contract and Latavius Murray's almost look identical. I would bank on Harris being, younger, but also slightly better than Murray. But I think it's James Cook or bust. Cook's got his role. He's going to get his touches. How many carries he gets is kind of in the wash. I think it'll kind of look like an ugly 3-way committee to me. So I just feel like Harris is being priced as a clear-cut handcuff. But even Elijah Mitchell, you might say it's a bit more of a committee, but I have more faith that he's the clear number 2 there. And I mean, 7 spots ahead of Achane, the potential lead back in the Dolphins, who, in the worst case scenario is in the same thing as Harris, I think, a 3-way committee. But at least he's the one with the most pass catching upside, whereas Harris doesn't really present that on the Bills. Harris is someone that I've easily been able to avoid this year. In fact, I've picked up some Latavius Murray shares. That's the guy I'd rather probably get him free. You don't have to take him in round 10. That's if you want a piece of the Bills offense, just pick up Murray for free. You probably won't get too much different production than what you get from Damian Harris.
I like it. Jibs?
Devon Achane. Don't know. They got Jeff Wilson. They got Remo shit. They're trying to get Taylor.
And he's hurt.
You never know. So, and he's hurt. So, I just don't think he should be going to the Rangers, even though with the upside he could get if he takes over the job. But he has a lot of obstacles in front of him.
He sure does, unfortunately. I'm going to go with Elijah Mitchell. I know that he has sparked at times, but again, I can't trust him to stay healthy for an entire season. I don't want to trust that in round 10. I'd rather just take one of the wide receivers. I'd rather take a second quarterback in Anthony Richardson and see that upside than taking Elijah Mitchell here in this round here. So that's kind of what the guy I don't really care for. So, all right. So let's get to the mock draft here. Jibs, give us the first guy you're going after here.
First guy I'm going after, I'm going to go with Elijah Moore. I'm in on that Browns offense. I think they wouldn't trade for him if they didn't want to get him. I think the Jets kind of held him back because, I thought he was just the guy when he had that first year in fantasy. But hopefully, new things. He does better things in new places, so I like that. Along with
what did they give up? They swapped picks, right?
Yeah, it was I
thought they gave up their second, but
second for something.
I think it was either to get a later second or to get an early third. But
sounds like a deal.
It doesn't seem like it's much, but especially for a team that didn't have their first round pick, and for that second to be their first pick to move even further back, that says to me they thought Elijah Moore is better than any player in the draft at that point, clearly. So that's if we're gonna spend this pick, let's do this in the most minimal way that we don't have to spend that much extra than the pick to get him.
It was a second for Elijah Moore and a third.
Okay, so they moved around for him. But again, that
worth it.
For a team with their first round pick, that would seem so minimal. But for the Browns, it's no first round pick. That's fairly significant. So to Gibbs' point, they have invested in him. I also think he'll be I'm guessing at this price, you're expecting him to be the wide receiver 2 on the team. Clearly, number 2 in targets, ahead of Njoku.
Hopefully.
Oh yeah.
I think they'll be close, but yeah, I would certainly rather bank on bet on Elijah Moore. I think was it 2 rounds, was even 3 rounds later. That's to me is a great investment at that. When you consider that, they'll probably both be pretty close, unless Elijah really breaks out and smashes past him. I think we've seen enough from Njoku that unless Elijah Moore fails, I don't think Njoku is suddenly going to be so far ahead of Moore.
Right.
either finish close or, to me, Elijah just breaks out and he's competing with Amari to be the top target on the team.
Exactly. I'm going to go with Zay Flowers here. I really think he could end up being the number one wide receiver in this Ravens offense here. I like the explosiveness he offers, the yards after catch ability as the potential slot wide receiver for this team here. So I'm going to take Zay Flowers here. So, Kyle?
I'll go Geno Smith. I like the upside at this point. Based on my rankings, I've got him at QB 16. There's one quarterback in my rankings ahead of him that we haven't mentioned yet. But I still think it's a good price, good value to get him. They've all, just like Dallas, Seattle hasn't said anything to the contrary. All they've done this offseason is say they want to invest in the passing game. Spending a first-round pick on Jackson Smith and Jigba. Well, even like spending their top 5 pick on a cornerback. Like it seems like they're invested passing game on both sides of the football, offense and defense. That's where they have to be to improve if they really want to be Super Bowl contenders. So, even Charbonnet, like that pick says we want a pass catching back better than Ken Walker. So to me, I could see the Seahawks being like 3rd in the league in pass attempts. I think you'd expect the Chiefs to be up there and the Chargers are constantly up there, especially with Kellen Moore. I think that'd be a heavy favorite to like lead the league in pass attempts. I have the Seahawks right up there in my projections. Like I have them like 635 pass attempts.
Oh, wow.
So
Nice.
I could see a really voluminous, if inefficient season from Geno Smith.
I like it. Jibs, you're back up top here.
I'm taking the guy who is so good he didn't have to play in the second preseason game, Anthony Richardson. Oh, man, I want all that rushing upside, baby. Like, if he could get us, 2,000 and 1,000, hey, that's a good season.
That is a good season.
But it's still very, like, the probability of that's pretty high, though. I mean, it's not as high as you think, so.
I've been crushing at him with my QB2 in all my Superflex leagues. I'm loving it. I'm going to take Cortland Sutton. I know that it hasn't been great for Cortland Sutton the last year or two now, but I think there's still a chance for him to be able to bounce back. I know he's dropped some weight this offseason. He looks more explosive. Jerry Jeudy gets hurt every year. I think Cortland Sutton has a chance to kind of have a little bit of a bounce back. So I'll take him with what compared to what's left on the board at this point. So Kyle, running backs or Juju?
I mean, there's 2 names that really stand out. I think I'm going to go with the thought that if he wasn't hurt, I probably would have taken him ahead of Geno. He might not even be in the 10th round, but it's Devon Achane. It's an ugly committee, but if anyone emerges from that committee to do something, I don't think it's Wilson or Mostert. I think it's Achane. So we'll find out what the role is for him.
All right, Jibs.
I'll take Juju. Regardless, he could be the leading target getter for the Patriots. Like, not a lot of people are like humming and giving glowing reviews about the Patriots offense. So, like, bad offenses in fantasy drafts, that's how you win sometimes. Like, if you hit on an offense and they're better than what people expect, there you go. I know Juju hasn't been the guy since his second year, but like 1,000 yards for a wide receiver and he could be the guy for the touchdowns. Not bad for round 10. I don't know.
He's on a team with a bunch of guys that can't draw 100 targets.
Yeah.
So I think he's definitely, like, in my mind, it'd be pretty shocking if he doesn't lead the Patriots in targets. And the leading target on the team is the guy you want to target in a bad offense, a la Marquise Brown a few rounds ago.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. I know I said I didn't like Elijah Mitchell in this run, and I don't like Damian Harris either that much. But Elijah Mitchell has the upside of being in a potential RB1. I just don't see Damian Harris having that same potential. Buffalo doesn't really ever have an RB1. San Francisco always have an RB1 because they know how to use their running backs to their full potential. Even with the injury risk, Damian Harris is hurt right now himself, so I'll take Elijah Mitchell here. And then, Kyle, you get Damian Harris.
Oh, can I just get Latavius Murray instead?
Yeah, sure. You can have Latavius Murray.
Perfect.
And round 10.
Everyone's happy.
And round 10, so you can have him there. So, but that is going to wrap up our show today, guys. That was round 6 to 10. A lot of fun. A lot of information we gave you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I thought about doing this, trying to change the little different things that people don't usually do and go in by round and just talk about the players within those rounds overall. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Kyle, man, always a great guest on, brother. If there's anything you want to shout out, anything you guys are working on right now, man, I'll give you the floor.
Well, first off, to your credit, when I watched last week's episode, I said, this is kind of a neat concept, drafting within a round. And I thought, oh wait, they didn't do all of them. Do we get to do this next week? Am I get to do this next week? Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, super excited to be on today. So thank you. This was super
Absolutely.
fun.
Appreciate it.
I've already plugged a few things earlier. Full Press Fantasy Pod, also the Full Press Packers Pod. If you like real NFL stuff, not just the fantasy. Who does? But yeah, I like it just enough to talk about the Packers on a semi-weekly basis. Certainly, well, actually, usually I do twice a week in season. Games to talk about. Off season, that's a little sparse. Yeah. I find it pretty easy to fill up a whole off season full of fantasy football content. Usually, I get to the end, it's like, oh, I didn't talk this. But yeah. So there's tons of episodes in the Full Press Fantasy Pod. We just did our 5-part tier series of every position. We did 2 episodes for wide receivers. There's so many of them. But yeah, all 4 positions covered. Me and my 2 co-hosts, Brad and George, we just compared how we ranked each of the tiers. Really focused on the differences. Why one of us would be so much higher, put a player in a tier ahead of the other 2. And yeah, super fun discussions through all 5 of those episodes. And I'll have a few more redraft-centric episodes for drafts before the season, before we get to just weekly previews, which isn't that far away. Super fun. In season, we're not done the off season yet. So off season, I have 2 shows on the Going for 2 Live network, one of which is tonight. And I think you guys are on in another 20 minutes. So stay here, wherever you're watching. Stay on the Fantasy Coaches YouTube channel. But at 8 p.m. when they're done, head over to the Going for 2 Live YouTube channel. My season finale of press coverage. And one thing I like to do, 3 years I've been doing this show so far. And every year at the last episode, I like to have a Going for 2 member come on. So Brian Ford will join me tonight. He co-hosts the Dynasty Saturday Night 5. And that is a show that will continue through in season. That's they're our main Saturday night show on the Going for 2 Live network. So the Dynasty Saturday Night 5. That's, I think at this point they'll be weekly until the season and every week in season as well. So tons happening there. I'm on the Dynasty Gambit as well. Off-season finale this week. Eric Romov from the Pros with Joe's Charity League. Plugging lots of charity leagues. We talked about Shane Barrett and the Polly's playoff, but Eric Romov does a league called Pros with Joe's.
Yes, he does.
The concept of that, if people haven't seen it on Twitter, there's a bunch of different pros, different analysts, fantasy football experts, so to speak, and you can choose which one you would potentially like to be paired with and send donations to their charity. I think you can, in theory, sign up for every single pro if you want and scattershot your chances, or you can load up all your money to one. And I think, the more money you put, I think in theory you get, I think it is still a random draw. So just because you're the most to donate to someone doesn't mean you'll get that person, but you donate enough money to this, you'll probably get in somewhere. Some pro will need a Joe to fill in. So Pros with Joe's, I think, is the Twitter account. Head over there for all the details, how to sign up, where you could donate. Each of the pros have a different charity that's close to their heart. So you can see all the different great causes that are available as well. And choose to donate to whichever ones you want, and hopefully get in and can participate. You co-manage the team. So instead of the typical pros versus Joes, this is, again, pros with Joes. You and that expert, whoever you're with, you co-manage, you co-draft the team, and through the season, you get to interact with them and run the team, choose starters together.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool, yeah. I've been seeing it on Twitter all week. Everyone's been asking them to join the team and donate. So it's definitely awful good cause. So I love that. Coach Shivs, anything you want to mention before we go?
No, not at all. It's a pleasure having you on, Kyle. Always love you in the chat.
Yes, we do appreciate it.
I always do love watching. One thing I will say, part of Full Press Coverage is a show called The Eye Test for Two, and this is 2 Hall of Fame voters that talk. And one thing that they talked about, because I think just last week they announced the finalist for the coach contributor category, Buddy Parker, former Lions coach. And I love ripping on the Lions. Since he left the team in 1956, they won the championship the next year, but since then have won 1 playoff game since then. So it's fun as a Packers fan from the Lions. The last time the Lions won a championship, Jailhouse Rock by Elvis Presley was the #1 song in America. Love ripping on the Lions. But anyway,
Lions.
Kudos to Buddy Parker, who hopefully can get voted in to the Hall of Fame. Certainly deserving. He's a multi-champion coach with the Lions. Just that statement alone blows my mind. Let alone 3 in the same decade. He was the archetype of one of the best defenses in the 50s, and certainly one of the best teams, as much as it pains me to say about the Lions. But anyway, there's another coach contributor that's even older, Chuck Shaughnessy, and his NFL contributions is to come in as a contributor. He helped, I think it was the Chicago Bears beat Washington in an NFL championship game. They had played through the whole regular season, and then they brought him on just to coach them up for the one game, the T formation, which he was innovating in college.
Wow.
And Washington had no idea how to stop the potential of 2 running backs getting the ball. They had no answer. Chicago won 73-0. So shout out to Chuck Shaughnessy, who I feel like I'm kind of like him. I'm just coming in as a consultant. So appreciate Coach Steve, Coach Jibbs every week. So accommodating. You guys put on a great show. Happy to be part of it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And again, I appreciate all of you who are listening to today's show. Obviously, again, we'll have another show, and actually, not doing it at 7. We're doing it at 9. So go see Kyle's show first, then come back to the coaches at 9. We'll do in the back half of this cool series, this this ADP series here. So tune in for that. Obviously, we'll have a show next week, and then we'll take a little break until the season starts. And we'll start getting back into our 2-a-days, waiver wires, talk afterwards, starting sits. Season's almost here, guys. We're going to have a lot of things going on. If you need help with your leagues, hit us up on our DMs on Twitter at Coaches Fantasy. We'll help you guys out make all your draft picks if you want to. We're going to have some things on the YouTube channel soon this week and on TikTok. So check it all out over at The Fantasy Coaches. So thank you guys all for listening. Tune in until next time. And have a good one.
Back to back is not far-fetched. We got a couple of Clark Kents. I've been feeling super duper. How the heck they know the future? Come with me.